Now, the spectre of Princess Diana's death continues to loom over the royal family, especially the heir to the throne, Prince Charles, her ex-husband. As the 25th anniversary approaches next week, the untimely passing of the 36-year-old in 1997 has been thrust back into the fore with a major new Channel 4 TV series investigating Diana, Death in Paris. It responds to the increasing number of conspiracy theories that have gained significant traction with millions of views on the Chinese social media platform TikTok.
After Princess Diana was killed by the royal family. Watch till the end. This one is crazy. August 31st, 1997, Princess Diana died in a car accident in Paris, France. A year prior to her death in 1996, she wrote a letter stating her husband is trying to kill her.
There was 14 cameras in the surrounding area where Princess Diana crashed, and not one of them was working.
Not true.
It is said that Princess Diana was murdered due to the fact she was pregnant with a mixed-race baby.
Not true. Just look at the facts.
The more I get into this, the more this is really looking like a cover-up. The French military agency locked up and prohibited access to the files.
The conspiracy theories will never go away.
And with the eyes of the world on the story, Metropolitan Police Commissioner at the time, Lord Stevens, was tasked with leading the high-profile inquiry into the death of the beloved princess. His intense 3-year investigation concluded it was not murder after the grilling of more than 100 witnesses, including our future king, Prince Charles.
I wasn't frightened of the establishment. The decision was made to see Prince Charles because of the Burrell letter and the allegations made in that letter. Princess Diana had stated that she was going to be murdered by her husband. He came in, was extremely charming. I put questions to him, which were noted down by Dave Douglas.
Lord Stevens is asking him questions, then he deliberately, on a couple of occasions, leant past Lord Stevens to ask me general questions about Paget. How's it going? Is the inquiry going okay? He was putting me at my ease by actually including me in the conversation. I thought that's quite classy. All I'll say is that when it came to all of the details in that note, the Prince of Wales couldn't understand any of it. He couldn't understand why it was written. He couldn't understand why those names were put in there. He just couldn't help us.
And Lord Stevens joins me now to reveal what really happened on that fateful night in Paris. Lord Stevens, thank you so much for taking the time. Are you concerned that these conspiracy theories, as most people would think they are starting to gain significant traction? Because the point of your investigation was to put them to bed once and for all. But it feels like this new generation is becoming convinced that Princess Diana may have been murdered via videos that they're watching on platforms like TikTok.
Well, I think we've got to go back to when we took up the inquiry, which was after the conclusion of the French inquiry. And it was 85 and 90% of the population thought there was something in the conspiracy. And the allegation was, putting it simply, that Prince Philip, the husband of the Queen, had, together with MI5 and 6, murdered the most popular woman in the world. Now, by the time 4 years later happened, when we've done the inquiry for 3 years and then been to the coroner's inquest, which was in front of a jury, of course, that was no longer the case. And I think if you watch the programme, you'll see that Michael Mansfield said it was time to move on, who was a very eminent Queen's Counsel representing Mohamed Fayed in the court. And equally, it was Mohamed himself said it's time to move on. And the jury came to the conclusion, after 3 to 4 years of hard work, that our conclusions were right, that this was an accident.
I have watched the whole documentary series, actually. I found it absolutely fascinating. And obviously, I know how hard you worked to answer all of the conspiracy theories. But I just want to pick up, just so you can respond to a couple of the key allegations that are being made on these social media platforms. Why did you not speak to the Queen or Prince Philip? Because after all, as you say, the accusations are being made against Prince Philip, yet he never spoke to you.
Well, I think Dave Douglas and I explained it in the programme, and I would encourage people to watch the programme with an open mind, not just our 2 episodes, the last 2 episodes coming up on Sunday and Monday, but the French inquiry as well. We had no evidence, no reason to interview the Queen or Prince Philip. There was no evidence whatsoever against either of them. In relation to Prince Charles, it was somewhat different because there was a letter in existence which actually said that Diana might be murdered or would be murdered because Tiggy Lake Burke was pregnant and had a baby by Prince Charles. Now, that allegation was put to him. He denied it, and there was no evidence after all the allegations we looked at that came and actually supported that. Further, okay, sure, sorry, yeah.
No, sorry, I was just going to say we're showing the note at the moment because I think this is the note that attracts the most attention online because it is truly shocking to read even today, given it was penned by Princess Diana just 10 months before her death. And she writes, "My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injury in order to make the path clear for him to marry Tiggy." Now, of course, we know the latter part of the note was complete rubbish and likely that idea had been put into the head of Princess Diana by Martin Bashir, the disgraced BBC journalist. But Lord Stevens, the first part of the note is virtually identical to how Diana did end up dying. How did Prince Charles explain that?
Well, Prince Charles didn't have to explain it. We looked at 104 allegations which related to other issues and this. There was no evidence whatsoever that actually this was the case. Let me take it further. This letter actually was produced and other people have given evidence. We interviewed another 300 witnesses separately who said that a state of mind, maybe because that had been put in her head by Mr. Bashir, who knows, but there's some evidence that's the case. And there was no evidence that this was the case. Her state of mind at this time, you can take it from me and other people will verify this, was she was extremely vulnerable. She was paranoid. And as Lord Mishcon, a solicitor would say, who we took two statements from him, she was very vulnerable. She would accept what was being said to her, and she thought everybody was against her in terms of conspiracy. She was in a very bad state at that time.
You didn't speak to Martin Bashir for your investigation. Is that a regret of yours now, given what has emerged? Oh, no. We've lost Lord Stevens. What a shame. We will try and get him back very shortly. Oh, we've got you back, Lord Stevens. Sorry, Lord Stevens, can you just repeat that? Because we just lost you briefly. I just asked about why you didn't interview Martin Bashir.
Well, if we'd have known what we know now, we would have definitely interviewed Martin Bashir, probably under caution as it happened. But at that stage, we didn't know what he'd been involved in. It only came from Earl Spencer, that he had tricked her into saying things. He had produced documents which are forgeries, which had obviously had an effect on her state of mind. And that state of mind was made more vulnerable, more paranoid by his actions.
Do you think he has a criminal case to answer?
Well, I think that's up to other people. That'll be up to the new commissioner, I suppose, Sir Mark Rowley. It'll be up to other people to have a look at. But I think the BBC's own inquiry, which was undertaken, raises lots of questions that need to be answered. Now, whether there's a criminal case involved in this, that's up for legal argument and legal advice.
But just to clarify, you didn't interview anyone for your inquiry under caution, did you?
No.
But you would have interviewed Bashir under caution?
I think the probability is, depending again, as I said, on legal advice, we probably would have interviewed him under caution, yes.
Absolutely fascinating. Of course, you did speak to Mohamed Al-Fayed as well, a man who 25 years on is still grieving the loss of his son. Even though he did admit the case should be closed, it had taken much out of him, he remains convinced to this day, Lord Stevens, that there was a conspiracy to kill his son and Diana because of the fact that he was Muslim and Princess Diana may have been carrying Dodi's unborn baby, and the royal family couldn't stomach the idea of having a Muslim member of the royal family. How were you able to disprove Mohamed Al-Fayed's allegations?
By going solely where the evidence took us. I did the inquiry because Mohamed Al-Fayed had confidence, bearing in mind what had been achieved in Northern Ireland on what was called Stevens 1, 2 and 3, related to collusion between the Protestant paramilitaries and the security forces, that I was the only one to do the job. I had to say it was it was a unique kind of ask. So I did the job at his really firm request. Saw him once a month, took him through all the process of what was going on. It was only when we produced the report on that last day that he actually wouldn't see me and had nothing to do with me from then onwards, until, of course, the coroner's inquest. When I was in the witness box being cross-examined, I started off by asking for an apology from Mr. Al-Fayed, which I never got. I think you've got one point wrong. I think you will see, I think it's in the 4th episode, where Mr. Al-Fayed accepts the jury's verdict. And the jury's verdict was exactly along the lines of what we had come up with in the inquiry and the investigation, based on the evidence.
Okay.
And I thought that was a hard thing for him to do, and I admire him for doing it.
And just finally, Lord Stevens, for the young people out there who are looking at these video clips, reading about the note, reading about Diana's lawyer who wrote another note talking about her suspicion of the fact that she was going to be murdered, looking at Mohamed Al-Fayed's claims throughout the years, can you just very simply sum up for us how and why Diana died in a Paris tunnel in August 1997?
Well, it's very hard to do in summary, but I'll do that. It was a car that was driven too fast, being chased by the paparazzi. The individual driving that car had some drink. We've got some CCTV of him having 2 or 3 Ricards in the hotel and gone home. He was ordered to come back by Dodi Fayed, drove a car, and he drove it too fast, and he went down the Elmer Tunnel. It's all been proven by those experts who reconstructed the crash, and hit a pillar there. And it's as simple as that. It's a hard thing to accept, I know, but it took us 4 years, and going in front of a jury for 6 months and being cross-examined to actually convince that jury and others. What I will say, I really, really would say, if people have any doubts about what has happened in relation to the death of Princess Diana, and I can understand some of them having them, please watch the programme from start to finish and keep an open mind. And then if you decide it's still a conspiracy, there's not much more we can do about it. And there will be those about, believe it or not, which will do that.
Prince Harry is currently writing his autobiography. He is rumoured to be looking into the circumstances around his mum's death. Did he reach out to you at all in the preparation of that book?
Nothing to do with the book, but I did see Prince Harry and Prince William on a one-to-one basis for an hour to an hour and a half, and outlined what the conclusions of the inquiry was, and then for a very lengthy period of time answered their questions, which were needed to be answered by 2 boys who had lost their mother in difficult circumstances.
Lord Stevens, who led the police investigation into Princess Diana's death, thank you so much.